Welcome to your next unit, which is Unit 4 in Taxi and Private Hire Trading. Today, the unit is entitled Maintain the Safety of the Licensed Vehicle. We have three outcomes: know how to prepare and clear the vehicle for customer hire and statutory inspection. Second outcome, know the importance of regular vehicle inspection and servicing for maintaining safety and efficiency. And thirdly, describe how a driver can monitor vehicle systems and take the appropriate remedial action. Outcome 1. Know how to prepare the vehicle for customer hire or statutory inspection. We mentioned in the previous unit in customer service, it's very important to have a clean car. Every licensing authority has responsibility to ensure the public has access to safe and well-maintained taxis and private hire vehicles. So, going on to the cleanliness issue, it does impress customers, it gives customers confidence in your service, and it provides longevity for your vehicle. If you wash and polish that vehicle regularly that you have invested heavily in, it will give you back returns in longevity. There are statutory inspections carried out by the DVSA on behalf of licensing. You will need to look at your local licensing conditions to see how frequent these are. Obviously, safety is paramount. Your vehicle needs to be safe. We should be discussing safety aspects of the vehicle, in particular, your tyres. Cleanliness. How often should you wash your car? My feelings are you should wash your car at least once a week, probably twice a week. There are drivers that clean it every day before they go out to work. They have such pride in their profession. The licensing authority, as a condition of license, will insist that the vehicle is kept clean externally and internally. A vehicle can be suspended for being dirty. You are representing your licensing authority. Keep it clean. Have pride in yourself and your vehicle. So, as I said, regular washing and polishing of the vehicle will enhance the look of the vehicle, which gives the customer confidence. It also protects against acids in the rain and any corrosion, bird droppings, etc. Especially if it's polished, gives it that protective shield. Yes, I know all paintwork is lacquered nowadays, but nonetheless, polishing helps enormously. Your wheels. Alloy wheels should be kept nice and clean so there's not a buildup of grime. If you have wheel trims, should they be bashed or chipped, please change them. Any marks on the bodywork or indentations in the bodywork, get fixed. You will find that in some licensing authorities, stone chips, dents, scratches, abrasions, any dull or faded paintwork can be a failure to official inspection. So, obviously, if something is loose or dangerous, that is a definite failure. So, I mentioned washing. Depends on the weather, obviously. In the autumn, when there's leaves on the road, it gets considerably dirtier than it does in the summer and the spring. Should be at least once a week. Don't forget the inside of the doors, the door checks or the door sills. These can get very grimy. Children can put their hands on them and possibly wipe them on your seat. You might have a customer in a long dress or coat that can get grubby or grimy from the door check. You are responsible. You have a duty of care. There are products for many jobs. Alloy wheel cleaner, glass cleaner, microfiber polishing cloths to pick up the dust from your dashboard, paint renovator which is supplied with a new car, upholstery cleaner for cleaning your seats and mats, tar remover for moving spots of tar or asphalt that have splashed up in the summer or a newly resurfaced road, Bird dropping removal kit. Yes, there is such a thing. Gets rid of the acid first before you shampoo your car and then polish it. Interior shampoo. There are other products as well, of course. Vinyl restorer. The tire cleanser. So, always regularly vacuum your vehicle. Valet the car using a good quality foam shampoo. I would also recommend, whenever you can, that your car mats, shake them off regularly, between jobs even. The vehicle may be subject to a soilage or fouling incident, vomit for instance. So always use gloves to remove the main solid contamination. You will then need to sanitize the area. You do this by carefully applying diluted disinfectant. Once that is done, you may want to remove any smells. And any other stains that have been left after it's dried out. So you want to use a good quality upholstery cleaner that will penetrate the fabric and deodorize it. Upholstery cleaner can be used for general buildup of stains on your upholstery, on your seats and your mats. It could be used to remove any food stains, any drink spillage, that type of thing. It's not just for fouling incidents. You need diluted disinfectant for fouling incidents or soilage, and you need a good quality upholstery cleaner that will penetrate and deodorize to do general cleaning on your seats and mats. Afterwards, you may want to spray an air freshener directly onto the seating. This is a dry air freshener. One of the products on the market is Febreze, obviously. You may also want to have an air freshener in the car. With fabric seats, you should probably consider fitting seat covers. With leather seats, this obviously doesn't apply. You can get good quality vinyl seat covers made to measure. They look professional, they're easy to keep clean. Just going back to the previous slide, and the products I've mentioned, you could have bird dropping removal kit. It's for your bodywork. If it's on your headlights, you can just use soap and water. To remove any asphalt from the car, you would need tar remover. To remove just general grime and general road dirt, you would use car shampoo. To remove any buildup of brake dust on your alloy wheels, you would want an appropriate cleaner or alloy wheel cleaner, appropriate chemical product. So depending on your local licensing conditions and policies, this is just an example of body inspections. They may count the number of stone chips on your bonnet, for instance, and become a failure. Scratches of more than a certain length, I give the example of 50 millimeters, dents in the vehicle. They may be all reasons for failure on that vehicle on its statutory test. However, any sharp edges, anything insecure or loose or missing would be an immediate fail. Always treat your stone chips should you have the treatment kit from the manufacturers. Then you can protect it with a lacquer and polish it afterwards. All of the cleansing products I've mentioned are subject to COSH, Control of Substances Hazardous to Health. You must read the data sheet on the back of the product, whether it be an aerosol, a box, a tube, etc. Follow the instructions. If it says wear gloves or eye protection, do so. Watch out for the symbols on COSH. Maybe a good idea to go onto the COSH website and look at the symbols. Learn them in case you get tested on them at the end. Outcome 2. Know the importance of regular vehicle inspection and how to maintain safety and efficiency of that vehicle. We're going to talk about the benefits of regular servicing and maintenance. walk-around inspections, when should these be carried out? Statutory inspections, which are done by the DVSA on behalf of licensing, and the full role of the DVSA regarding the taxi and private hire industry. Fixed penalty notices should any faults be found with your vehicle, and your responsibility in looking after that vehicle to maintain its safety and efficiency. We're not asking you to be mechanics, but you should have a basic working knowledge of your vehicle so that inspections and maintenance can be undertaken. This will ensure that the vehicle is maintained between the official service intervals and also between the official statutory inspections. It would also mean that the vehicle is in optimum operating condition. It's working to the best of its capability. It's legal and safe for carrying your passengers. Don't forget, duty of care. It is comfortable for passenger use. As regards the manufacturers, it's within warranty and you are fulfilling the insurance conditions. And it runs at maximum economy. You're getting more miles per gallon. You will need to know how to check your oil levels, your water levels, your brake and clutch fluid levels, for instance. Statutory inspections carried out by the DVSA on behalf of licensing. There must be at least one annual statutory inspection a year. However, some authorities impose 2 a year or even 3. So you could have a 12-month inspection, a 6-month inspection, or a 4-month inspection. The license is issued for 12 months, but within that 12 months, there could be 1 inspection, 2 inspections, or 3 inspections. The DVSA can also carry out spot checks whilst you are working, as can the police. Licensing can only carry out spot checks if they have the police with them to stop a moving vehicle. However, should you be parked up, licensing can do a spot check as well. Between the test dates, the roadworthiness of that vehicle has to be maintained. Duty of care. So a good maintenance program is based on the principle that prevention of the vehicle faults is substantially improved by ensuring the manufacturer's service schedules are met. If it states you need a service every 10,000 miles, that is an absolute minimum. You may want to do it every 5,000 or 6,000 to ensure safety and longevity of that vehicle. You must do regular vehicles inspections, walk around the vehicle. You would do this before starting shift each day. A full inspection of the parked vehicle. To inspect the tyres properly, you may have to implement some dry steering, i.e. turning the wheels whilst the vehicle is stationary, so you can inspect the inside of the tyres as well and the full tread. Driver defect reporting. Should you be renting the vehicle, it's your duty to report any defects to the owner so that the faults can be rectified immediately. You must not drive a vehicle with faults. The vehicle's registered owner is responsible for ensuring that the vehicle is legal and safe. So when you rent the vehicle, when he hands it over, when the owner hands it over, it's his responsibility to ensure that it's legal and safe. As soon as you drive that vehicle away, the driver becomes responsible for any major faults found in that vehicle. So if you're driving in a rented vehicle with bald tyres, you as the driver is the one that will receive the fixed penalty points, not the owner. Your walk around inspections before you start your shift, you should ensure that the vehicle is legal, it's fully roadworthy, all the onboard equipment is in place and it's serviceable and safe to use. All actions are lawful. You should never ever compromise your safety or passenger safety, i.e. if you find a fault, get it fixed immediately. Do not take the chance of driving that vehicle. So, as I've said already, you should check the roadworthiness and have a vehicle safety checklist little tick boxes that you can tick everything off: tires, lights, windscreen wipers, indicators, etc., etc. You should do this before you commence shift each day, before driving that vehicle on the public road. Should you be sharing the vehicle with other drivers, as a lot of hackney drivers do, taxi drivers do, you should also check the roadworthiness at end of shift throughout the working day at handover, as different drivers take over the operation of that vehicle. It goes without saying that that vehicle should have a full check, a full service prior to a licensing inspection or a certificate of compliance test before it goes for its statutory inspection. I mentioned the safety checklist. Also on that, you could be a box giving a short explanation to the owner or mechanic what is wrong with the vehicle. A brief but clearly understood written explanation is required to assist the owner in order to take decisions regarding repairs. And I did mention, if you are renting that vehicle, if you as the driver knowingly drives a vehicle with a serious safety fault, whether you own it or not, as the case may be, the driver will be charged with dangerous driving and receive the penalty points on your driving license. As drivers, we're all aware of certain things where you realize there is a fault. Just a simple guide to some of the serious symptoms that you will need to report to the owner or to the mechanic if it's your vehicle. Obviously overheating, certainly poor braking, steering and pull vibrations, any unusual noises, knocking, squeaks, etc. Any vibrations, excessive smoke, something wrong with the engine if you're emitting excessive smoke. It's also an offence. Get the fault fixed. Duty of care. There's an example of a vehicle safety checklist. It's quite comprehensive, but you can see the sort of things that you need to look for: mirrors, wipers, horn, lighting, windscreens, brakes, wheels, tires, seat belts, etc., etc. On taxis, you need to carry a roof sign with the words taxi or for hire, depending on your local licensing conditions. If you have a roof sign, this is also subject to an inspection. You will need to check the wiring, the illumination. The words such as taxi or hire comply as stated in your local licensing conditions. That the roof sign is secure and stable and fixed as stated in your conditions of license. Individual licensing authorities have the authority to determine the frequency of inspections and standard of inspection. These standards will never fall below the national inspection standards. So 1 test a year, 2 tests a year, or 3 tests a year. When it's going for its inspection with the DVSA, ensure that the vehicle is fully prepared. A vehicle can fail before the test starts if it's dirty, externally or internally, or even if the engine is not clean. The first test they will do after inspecting the cleanliness of the vehicle is the emissions test. Make sure your vehicle is fully serviced and fully prepared for that inspection. If the test is terminated, another test will have to be applied for and another test fee be paid. The first caption is the caption for the Ministry of Transport. They will check regular vehicles and spot checks, defects and recalls. They can fix penalties. DVSA, besides doing the tests on private hire and taxis, they can investigate vehicle accidents. Regards HGVs with tachographs, they can look at drivers' hours. They can check HGVs again, overloaded vehicles. Should you see the sign checkpoint ahead, it's either the police that are checking certain vehicles or the DVSA. Don't forget the DVSA have the power to stop a moving vehicle. The DVSA will also work alongside the police and licensing on many occasions. They provide a wide range of licensing, testing, and enforcement, and have the powers of the police since 2002. And there we are. Under the Police Reform Act 2002, a Chief Constable can grant the DVSA officer the power to stop vehicles for spot checks on the vehicle and driver compliance without the need for police support. The licensing officers of your local licensing authority also have the powers to inspect a vehicle and driver compliance. However, they cannot stop a moving vehicle unless a police constable is in attendance with them. Once again, I will reiterate, if you are parked up, the licensing officers do not need the police with them to carry out any inspection of yourself or your vehicle. There's the sign. Should you be waved into a checkpoint area, you have to go in. It's a condition of your license to comply with officers, authorized officers, and they are subject to continuous DVSA checks. They will check everything on the vehicle, that you've got everything, including like fire extinguishers and first aid kits. They may check your badge as well. On these checkpoints, sometimes there are other authorities there, like social services, HMRC, immigration, police, licensing, and the DVSA. Some of the action key codes that the DVSA include. I have a list of them there. I'm going to concentrate mainly on PG9I, PG9D, fixed penalty notice. Vehicles that fail an inspection are issued with a roadworthiness prohibition. This is a roadside inspection, not the inspection at the test centre. So, depending on the severity of the defect, the prohibition gives an immediate fail. So if you have a serious fault with your car, you're issued with a PG9I. That is, the vehicle is immediately prohibited from driving anywhere. So if this is a roadside check, that vehicle that received a PG9I, it's the vehicle that is suspended, not the driver. If that vehicle is issued with a PG9I, you would have to arrange for to get it towed to the repair centre. PG9D. On the roadside inspection, the officers have found faults or minor faults, but decide you can continue to work. They will give you a prohibition notice, but that is delayed. Now, the maximum length of time that prohibition can be delayed for is 10 days. In other words, you would need to get the fault repaired within 10 days and get it inspected by the DVSA. However, the DVSA officer can fix the time himself. So it could be 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, but the maximum is 10 days. The DVSA can also issue FPNs, fixed penalty notices, i.e. points on your driving license. So roadworthiness. Any defects which led to the prohibition was an indicator that significant failure has allowed the defect to develop. Defects where the operator or driver should be aware of, you should be making sure you do your daily walk around checks so that there's no faults on that vehicle before you drive the vehicle. You're also responsible for knowing about defects, and should the vehicle be repaired, that repair has been carried out properly and adequately so the vehicle is safe. PG9Ds, as I've mentioned, delayed prohibition. It allows continued use of the vehicle until the prohibition comes into force. Should you drive the vehicle after the length of time has expired, you are not insured and you will get points on your DVLA license should you be stopped, and you will probably be suspended as a driver by your local licensing authority. The period of delay is selected by the vehicle examiner as being most appropriate for the faults they have found. As I say, the maximum is 10 days, but it can be any time decided by the examiner. Before a prohibited vehicle is permitted to be used on a public road, a removal of prohibition notice is issued. Other than that, you can go to an MOT station and have a full MOT. You need to present that at the police station with the prohibition or all the prohibition notice so that you're allowed to go back on the road. It may be, rather than getting a delayed notice or an immediate notice, a PG9D or a PG9I, you are given a PG35. These are advisory. Always work with the officers. If you get an advisory, get the faults that he has found fixed before your statutory inspection. As I said, the DVSA has the authority to issue fixed penalty notices, and the licensing authority may also suspend the vehicle for a period of time until all the repairs and rectifications are complete and a retest has been generated, a pass on that vehicle, so it is safe for passenger hire. Fixed penalty notice offered for routine offences only on roadside inspections. You will never get a fixed penalty notice on a statutory test at the DVSA testing centre. And for your information, a fixed penalty is not a fine. Yes, we say speeding fine, parking fine. They are not, they are penalties. Payment of the penalty by the recipient discharges their liability to conviction for the offence for which the FPN was issued. So in other words, should you get a fixed penalty notice, you are not a criminal. If you get a fine, it goes on your criminal record. It does not constitute an admission of guilt, but removes the possibility of the creation of a record of criminal conviction. The DVSA can issue fixed penalty notices on a roadside check. So there may be a non-endorsable offence. It could be endorsable offence on your DVLA license. You will get points on your license, and the fixed penalty must pay within 28 days. I've given you some examples there. Excessive smoke, defective exhaust, steering, defective headlight, car tire 1.6 millimeter. So each separate endorsable offence will carry 3 penalty points. And as I said, they will check you, i.e. your badge, your license, your fire extinguisher, etc., etc. Even cleanliness of that vehicle. The DVSA have the power to remove the plates from that vehicle and deposit them with your local licensing authority until faults are rectified, should you get a PG9I. If a licensing authority is satisfied that the appropriate authorization from the Secretary of State for the Department of Transport to undertake inspection of taxi vehicles and to issue compliance certificates, pass certificates, there's no need for that vehicle to have an MOT test. So in other words, once you've got your DVSA test passed and the plate issued and fixed to that vehicle no longer needs to have an MOT test. The difference is, of course, even with a brand new vehicle going straight on the road, it needs to have a DVSA test should it be used for hire and reward as a taxi or a private hire vehicle. Vehicle examiner also makes sure the first aid kit is in place and its contents, if that's a requirement. The correct type of fire extinguisher is fitted and it's up to date. Any securing devices are secure. Obviously, the vehicle itself needs to have type approval. In other words, it's the right type of vehicle for a private hire vehicle or a taxi, and has to comply with the Road Vehicle Construction and Use Regulations 1986 to ensure that it's safe to be on the road. Taximeters have to comply with Measuring Instruments Directive. Now, taximeters have to be fitted in taxis or hackneys, but do not need to be fitted in private hire vehicles. However, most PDAs will incorporate a taximeter. They offer consumer protection by accurately measuring the distance traveled by a taxi and the fare paid to be paid as a result of that. So it measures distance and time, combination of both. So if you're stationary in traffic, it will click on. We mentioned in a previous unit about European standards. From September 2015, all new vehicles in the UK have to work to standard Euro 6. From January 2011 to September 2015, all vehicles were working to standard Euro 5, and from July 2008 to January 2011, they were working to Euro 4. On a diesel vehicle, make sure the cam belt is changed at regular intervals as recommended by the manufacturer. Consider buying a hybrid vehicle, obviously better for the environment, and you're getting more miles to the gallon on a hybrid, usually almost doubling it up. Or ideally, although they are expensive initially, is to buy an electric vehicle. Some licensing authorities are giving incentives to drivers to use electric vehicles. Accident damage. Now, from that caption, it's obvious that that vehicle is not safe to be used on the road. There are sharp edges. There's a headlight out. There's serious bodywork damage. There could be steering or suspension damage as well that you cannot see. Any accident damage which affects the safety, appearance and comfort and integrity of that vehicle must be reported to your licensing authority within 72 hours, i.e. 3 days, of the accident having taken place. The 72 hours is there because the accident could occur over the weekend when the licensing authority offices are closed. Before you put that type of damage to a vehicle back on the road, obviously the repairs need to be carried out. The authority, the licensing authority, need to be informed of the final repairs, and on that type of damage, there are compliance issues, so safety inspections should be undertaken. It may be simple accident damage like a dent in a wing or a door, which doesn't affect the safety or comfort of the vehicle, and the licensing authority may suspend the vehicle until the bodywork damage is repaired, but there's no need to have a safety inspection afterwards. Usually they will be happy for you just to come along to the licensing officer where they will give it a quick inspection themselves, so you don't need to go to the DVSA for a full safety inspection. If you carry out your own repairs, you must ensure that the repair meets the relevant statutory legislation, road vehicle construction and use regs. So all mechanics, whether it be main dealers or independent or even yourself repairing, you have to ensure that the repair is also safe for passengers and road users. It does not breach the terms of the vehicle insurance, so you're not microchipping it or anything like that. It does not breach the terms of any warranty if it's a newer vehicle, and obviously it does not breach the terms of the local licensing authority. We're going to talk about your dashboard lights, monitoring vehicle systems, and taking appropriate remedial action. So the monitoring systems is your dashboard lights. We're going to talk about wheels and tires, especially that because of safety. So on your dashboard, there are some universal symbols. I've put a small caption up there with some of them. The first one on the top left-hand side is a temperature gauge. So that is for overheating or temperature. The middle one on the top line is brakes, any brake problem, pads, handbrake. I'm going to concentrate on the red ones. The center one is for low oil level. Oil is the lifeblood of your car. Should that come on, don't drive the vehicle with the red light, top the oil. The bottom one, whereas your battery is not charging sufficiently, so it's an electronic problem, Usually the alternator or the alternator belt is too slack. So red is always for danger. Orange or yellow lights are for information. Blue is your main headlight bulb, and green is indication, direction, or hazards. These are just the samples. You must know the symbols on your own vehicle. Check your handbook so you know what they are. Other things that could come up on your dashboard is a door open, an overhead shot of a car with a door, a slippery road surface where the car is, the symbol is the car from behind with a couple of S's under the tires. It can be the airbag, where you've got the side shot of the seats with the airbag. It can be the seat belt, where you've got a facial shot of a passenger with the seat belt across him. These are always in red. The other indication that may come on is your engine management light. This means that the vehicle is not working to its efficient and optimum best. So, should your engine management light, and that's the symbol there on the screen, if it's red, do not drive the car. Stop. You will cause serious damage to your engine if the light is red. Should that light indicate be yellow, then get it to your mechanic so that they can investigate the problem and fix it. ABS lights is another thing that may come on, etc. Okay. Know your engine. As I said, I'm not asking you to be a mechanic, but you've got to know the basics. You'll see the oil dipstick, although I do realize that some Mercedes models don't have this nowadays. You're totally reliant on your dashboard monitors. So the dipstick, you'll have minimum and maximum. Minimum, you have to make sure you've got enough oil in. Maximum, do not overfill it. That could also lead to excess pressure and blow the engine. To increase the level of the oil, should it be at minimum, you have the oil filler cap. Anything where there's water going in, whether that be the radiator expansion tank or the windscreen washer container, will have a blue cap. Your clutch and brake fluids will have a yellow cap with a clear container so you can see where the level is. Power steering is similar. And obviously you have to know where your battery is. Most engines that you'll open your bonnet now, it's totally covered. You need to take the cover off, but you still need to know how to check your levels. Daily safety checklist we've mentioned already. You do your walk round check to ensure that your tires, lights, wipers, glass, mirrors, etc. are all legal. Check your levels, your oil and your water levels, top up as required. As I said, these are identified by the colors on the filler caps. Tires. The law requires that in order to be legal, a tire must comply with a number of requirements. The tires must be correctly matched with type, size, structure, and location on the vehicle as regard to the axles. In other words, the front tires have to match across the axle. The back tires have to match across the axle. Although obviously most or all saloon cars will match around all two axles, so all four tires match. They don't have to have the same manufacturer, they have to have the same markings. The responsibility for ensuring that the correct tire types match the gross vehicle weight and design speed of the vehicle are divided by initially the manufacturer's responsibility, who have constructed the vehicle with integrity and given the relevant information on the side wall markings. But once that vehicle is owned, it's the motorist's subsequent responsibility. Should he be changing, he or she be changing the tire, they need to make sure it's the correct type, it matches across the axle, the condition is good, the tread depth is sufficient, more than 1.6 millimeter, or whatever it says in your licensing conditions, and the inflation pressure is what states in the handbook. So, you must be familiar with the details on the side walls of your tyre. If you're unsure, take advice from the tyre fitting centre or a garage. So a tyre with the following detail, the 205/55 R16 91V is explained as such. 205 is the width of the tyre in millimeters. R means the tyre is a radial construction, not a cross ply. 16 is the diameter of the tyre's inner rim in inches. 91 is the load capacity. So this is a code. 91 indicates a carrying capacity of 615 kilograms. V is the velocity speed rating. Minimum tread depth. The national minimum tread depth in England to every tyre is 1.6 millimeters throughout a continuous band comprising the central 3/4 of the width or the breadth of the tyre around the entire outer circumference. In other words, the central 3/4 of the tread must be more than 1.6 millimeter, or not less than 1.6 millimeter, the same thing. 3/4 is obviously 75%. In theory, therefore, you could drive legally a vehicle on the road with a tyre that has worn outer edges, provided the central 3/4 or 75% of the tread is more than 1.6 millimeters. That is the national law. As I say, check your local licensing conditions, because some insist it must be 2 millimeters or even 3 millimeters. I said that you could, in theory, drive a tyre around with worn edges, but not a worn centre. It has to be more than 1.6 millimeter. A tyre used on a vehicle or even a trailer must not have a cut or damage to the exterior of the tyre. So this is what makes a tyre illegal. Anything more than 25 millimeter, a cut more than 25 millimeter, or 10% of the section width. So if you've got low profiles, that could be less than 25 millimeter. Any tyre that exposes cords or ply of the tyre. The cords, you will see little white dots. So I said about the worn edges. If there are white dots on that worn edge, the tyre is illegal. The ply of the tyre, any wire showing, that is obviously illegal. Any internal or external bump, bulge, or tear caused by separation or partial failure of the structure. So if you've got a bump, a balloon on the tyre, it is illegal. Do your walk round checks. Should that tyre blow out on a motorway, you have a major accident, you are at fault. You are negligent. Tyre pressures and tyre wear. It's a legal requirement that tyres shall be fitted with good tyres in good condition and suitable across both axles. Correct fitment, correct mix of tyre, and correct recommended inflation pressures. Tyre wear. Should your tyre be wearing centrally only, it would mean that your tyre pressure is too low. I beg your pardon. Your tyre pressure is too high. This is very dangerous because you don't have enough grip on the road. There's not enough contact with rubber to tarmac. Particularly dangerous when going around corners. You could lose control of the rear end, especially if your tyre pressure is too high. If your tyres are wearing on the outer edge only, the tyre pressure is too low. You are wearing out the tyre quicker, especially when cornering. You are getting less fuel consumption, because less miles per gallon, increased fuel consumption. If your tyres are wearing on one edge only, which is either the outside edge or the inside edge, it's probably your tracking. Track red end might have broke, a wishbone might have broke. It's no good just changing the tyre, because that tyre will wear out exactly the same. You need to go to the tyre specialist and get that vehicle and that wheel tracked and balanced so that the wear doesn't occur again. Tyres should be checked regularly on your walk around inspection, and check your inflation pressures weekly. and any wear weekly. Remove any stones that have logged into the tread area because this will give you less grip on the road. And also, all tyres have now tread wear indicators, a block of rubber within the tread at regular spacing around the tyre. These are set at 2 millimeter. When that tread wear indicator becomes level with the rest of the tyre, it's a warning to the driver or the owner to replace the tyre as soon as possible. There's not much life left in it. You will soon be down to the legal limit of 1.6 millimeter minimum. We've talked about in another unit stopping distances, how they are increased. It's been proven that in wet weather, your stopping distance is increased dramatically when your tread depth drops below 3 millimeter. This is because the tread is not dispersing the surface water as quickly as it should do. So there's not enough rubber contact on the road. Penalties. If the police decide not to issue fixed penalty notices for illegal tyres, but to prosecute the driver, so obviously this would be the case if you've got 3 or 4 illegal tyres, this could cost you up to £2,500, compulsory 3 points per tyre, and a possible discretionary disqualification. Check your vehicle licensing conditions. Should your local licensing authority allow you to have space saver tyres, they are for temporary use only. They have a speed restriction, usually at 50 miles an hour. They will have a weight restriction, and you cannot carry fare paying passengers when you have a space saver wheel fitted. So should you have a space saver, if your local licensing authority allow it, and you have a puncture, you have to arrange for your passengers to be picked up by another vehicle from the dispatch office so they can continue on their journey. The temporary use only space saver wheel is to get you and the vehicle to the tyre specialist to get your tyre repaired or replaced. Thank you. That completes outcome 3 for the unit and completes the unit. Check you have a full understanding before moving on.